Nice one. Right, ladies and gentlemen, let's kick into another week of music here at the RGM podcast with me, Carl Maloney. Hey up. I hope you're doing all right.
How are we doing, Carl?
Hey up, we've got some boys on his hands. I'm absolutely boiling. I'm sat in the heat. And I can't have the window open because there's a park just across and it's right loud and I can't have, noise pollution getting in and interrupting this great chat that we're going to have with the Mercians and Joe. Hi, boys.
How are we doing, mate? All good. Thanks for having us, mate. Appreciate
You're very, very welcome, lads. You're very, very welcome. It's always nice to have some new, fresh faces on the podcast.
For sure.
And I keep seeing your lads' name all over the place, the Mercians all over the place. When I do start seeing a band's name all over the place, I want to have a chat with them because I'm a bit of a nosy bastard when I know what's going on.
Hey, must be doing something right. You must be doing something right.
Well, yeah, I think so. You seem to be grafting. You tell me what do you feel like you're doing well at the minute?
Absolutely, mate. We're non-stop at the minute. We're actually having a little writing session at the minute, but we've sort of put that on hold to chat to you, mate. But yeah, man, we are flat out at the minute. Melting, like you said, it's red hot in here as well. But yeah, loads going on at the minute. Lots of news, lots of planning, prepping, writing.
Exciting stuff.
It is. We've got lots of exciting stuff on the way.
But like you say, it's a graft and a half. You got to put the graft in for what you want, don't you?
Yeah, of course you have, mate. Of course you have. Particularly in the music industry, it's the hardest industry in the world. You're never going to get out-handed to you, are you, in this industry?
Not at all. Not at all.
So you're a Leicester band then, are you?
We are indeed, yes.
Okay.
We are. We're a Mercians band, Leicester band.
What's the scene like in Leicester at the minute?
You know what? We're saying where it's been, obviously, like off the back of like Kasabian, Glastonbury headliners and stuff. It's not as good as it's been, but I think recently there's some really, really good stuff coming out of Leicester. Apart from the football, but we won't talk about that. But yeah, there's lots of good bands coming up through Leicester, and we've started sort of networking with them a little bit, and it's I think it's really promising. The next few years, I think you'll be surprised. There'll be some Leicester bands on the scene at the top, I think.
Well, the last Leicester lad I had on was Tommy Cobbler.
Tommy Cobbler, yeah, I know the name.
Yeah, and he's an interesting creative chap, and I think he said something similar. It's there's not as much going on about at the minute, but when you delve into things a little bit, there's always something going on. There's always something happening, isn't there, somewhere?
Yeah, for sure. Leicester loves its music. That'll always be the case, whether there's new bands or not. The people of Leicester will always love their football and love their music. So we're just happy to be part of that. And if it means one day we can get a show at King Power or something, we'll happily take it. We're very, very proud to come from Leicester.
So that's the aim then, the football stadium.
Yeah, it's got to be in it. It's got to be amongst the other things, Glastonbury and all them lot. But playing your town's football club, it's that's when you've made it. So
yeah, okay. So let's go back a little bit then. So how did you two individually? What was being little like for you guys? How did you all come together and know that music was a thing for you guys individually?
Well, for me, to be fair, I've always sang, always loved singing, but I've never really expressed that or told anyone. I only actually really started to do it properly in 2020. I was around my missus's and I got very, very drunk on Christmas, and they're a bit of a musical family. We're having a bit of a jam, and I think they were playing an Oasis track, and I'd had a bottle of red wine, so I got a little bit confident and started singing. And her auntie, who's very, very musical, she stopped everyone and was like, I can hear a voice that is better than what we normally get around here. And then, she dragged me to vocal coach lessons the next day. So, yeah, I've only been doing this for 3 years now. We've been a band for, 18 months, something like that. We've only been launched a year and a bit. But, yeah, for me, music growing up, my dad got me into Bob Marley in the 70s, 80s, that kind of stuff. So I was born in the wrong era for music. But, yeah, and then found the lads, found this love for indie music, and the rest was history for me. But yeah, very new beginnings for me, to be honest. What about you?
It's been good. I mean, so I've always been kind of wanting to play music since a young age. I remember my story was, I think I was about 8 years old. I remember packing the Christmas tree down and just seeing an old classical acoustic on the sofa downstairs and just instantly loving it. And I remember the next Christmas, I I've got a little electric guitar with a little, like a built-in speaker. So you flick a switch and it's like amplified already. It was the best thing I ever had. There's like flames coming off it and everything. It was amazing. But my family's always been into music. My dad's a rocker himself, being into like Status Quo and AC/DC. He's always loved music. So watching bands from a young age, I mean, just kind of, you know, when you want to do something, you know, when you want to accomplish something, and you try and do everything you can to actually get there.
Yeah. But, so there's always been instruments around then, I suppose, a little bit.
Yeah. Like weird instruments, like harmonicas, 3-string cigar boxes, like a couple of trumpets like that lying around. It's a weird one, but yeah, I've always had that around me. So it's kind of what you grow up is what you want to do, isn't it?
Yeah. It does change though as you grow up and change. Because I when I first started into music, I was in a brass band, Woodhouse Prize Band in Sheffield, and I kind of got to like 15, 16, and I didn't want to play a tenor horn anymore. It just weren't cool enough. I play the guitar over there.
Yeah, too right.
Over that kind of stuff. So your musical like what these instruments you see around the house can influence you a little bit, but your mind can change a little bit. You never know. You might be on a harpsichord one day.
Never say never.
Never say never. So how did you all like meet each other in that then? Were you friends at school or were you?
No, so there's a few different paths through the school. So me and the drummer, who's actually Charlie's just left the band actually. So we're actually auditioning for a new drummer at the minute. But Charlie and I came together when I put a couple of singles out, a couple of covers on Facebook when I finally started singing and showing people. And he messaged me and was like, "Mate, I've been in bands my life. We've got to do something." So we were like, I wasn't against the idea. I hadn't really thought about being in a band, but went over to his, had like a little jam, and then we realized, oh, you know what, this could be something here. This is quite good. And this was with some other lads that were sort of playing with us at the time. And then we went through 5, 6, 7 lads that played the guitar and whatnot. And whether it was their decision or our decision, things weren't quite working. And then Charlie and I sort of decided, we really want to go for this. We need to find some lads that are super talented, and then somehow managed to stumble across these lot, and they just happen to be some of the best musicians we've ever sort of worked with. And now all of a sudden, I'm super privileged to be playing with these lot. I mean, like he said, he's been playing since he was 8 years old, and he's absolutely wicked on the guitar. But yeah, it's kind of a weird story, isn't it? Yeah. It was like just.
I mean, I knew the other guitarist from college, and I don't know how he found you guys, to be honest.
I think we found Owen, who's our rhythm guitarist, our other guitarist. We found Owen, and then it was like, we need another guitarist. And he was like, well, I went to college with someone, and then he pointed us in the direction of Joe. Charlie knew Harry, the bassist, from school, I think. And it was just like, do you want to come and have a jam? And then we had a jam. We all looked at each other like, oh, this is pretty good.
Yeah, it was quite a lucky find. It wasn't like planned about who he was going to pick. It was just like, I know a guy. Oh, I know a guy as well. I'll pick this guy. Oh, fucking magic, isn't it?
Yeah, just turned out that everybody was as driven as the next man, and like I said, a year later we've done what we've done. So
what covers were you doing online then? Anything?
I covered. I posted "Ain't No Sunshine" by Bill Withers. That was on SoundCloud, and I did a Lewis Capaldi one. I did "Bruises" by Lewis Capaldi, and at the time I was like a ballad singer. Once I went to my vocal coach and I figured out the songs I like to sing, it was all ballads and stuff. And that was why when Charlie called me like, "Do you want to be in a band? Or do you want to try and be in a band?" I was a bit like, wow, it's never really crossed my mind. But there's something about playing like an indie rock song with like driven guitars. Like once you do it once, it's just like nothing else will ever compare. And that was it for me. I was like, this is what I want to do.
So, and has the band been or had any different origins before the Mercians? Has it been called anything different?
Yeah, so we were called Idle Sons at the start. It was myself, Charlie.
Everybody's a shit name.
If you don't have a shit name, you're lying to people. Everybody's had a shit name. So yeah, when we got together, it was a bit like, right, okay, I think we need a bit of a rebrand. How can we, build something that means something? And that was where the Mercians came from, which I think we think is a good name. It's a good brand.
Solid, yeah,
it's a solid brand. Better than Idle Sons, anyway. Put it that way.
Yeah, I do like the name. I do like the name. So like you mentioned there earlier that you all kind of like found each other and it kind of worked when you started rehearsing. I'm always fascinated by how that comes around, because a lot of bands like just do a throwaway comment about how they all got together, and it's really similar. Bands have a really similar. A lot of different bands have a really similar path with that, where somebody just turns up, somebody who's over there, somebody over there, they all get together, and it kind of just happens. And I know you've got a new drummer coming, but it's there's no real secret to it. It's kind of luck. Bands are formed very very like strange and just hazard sometimes, aren't they? I don't know what I'm really trying to say.
Yeah, for sure. It's never an easy process. I mean, even getting a new drummer now, it's a bit of a headache. You've got to find the right one, and we're looking to take this sort of like really, really serious September onwards. Not that we're not taking it serious now, but September onwards, we're all sort of planning on packing in the day jobs and going for it full time. So we've not only got to find someone that can uplift us in the studio and like sort of play with us on stage, but they have to be bearable to live with and stuff, because the relationship should build. So it's difficult. It is really difficult. Like you said, I think 9 times out of 10 it's a bit luck of the draw.
Well, you can find an amazing drummer, because I know the search is on, but it just might not be the right person. It's so hard. When I were in bands, we had about 7 drummers through the years. It would just always, and drummers are a different type of breed as well, aren't they?
They are.
So how do you go about finding a new drummer? There might be somebody watching this that can contact you. That's
Hey, I mean, if you are a drummer and you're looking to join a band, by the time this goes out, whether we'll have one or not, I'm not sure. But hey, our messages are always open. But it's difficult, man. It's not like buying a car. You can't just go on Facebook Marketplace and find a drummer. You know what I mean? So it comes down to connections that the lads have. I mean, I'm kind of new to the music scene, but some of the lads in the band have been in the music scene for years, and they know people that play instruments. And whether it's like we find a metal drummer and we have to kind of mold them into the indie style, which is what we've done with ourselves, really molded ourselves into the style we're playing. But yeah, it's difficult. It's hearsay. It's putting a post up and seeing what comes. We've had good interest, to be fair. I think we're privileged at the minute where this is a project that people can see, growth in and see a future. So people are excited and they want to be a part of it. But it's not nice, to lose a member. It's like losing your missus. You spend so much time with them. It took a big chunk out of us, to be honest, and it's took a while to get over. And I don't think it's ever just going to be like, oh yeah, it's always going to be a memory that you sort of cherish. So, but we achieved loads together, man. And going on tour with Tom Meehan, which I'm sure we'll talk about, that was Charlie's childhood dream. So as much as it's a heartbreak, I'm really glad that he got the opportunity to tour with his icon. You know what I mean? So there's greener pastures everywhere, really.
You could always poach one as well. There might be a great band in Leicester that's just coming up that you can say, oh.
Yeah, I was thinking that. I was going to message the Lathams the other day, but I don't think they downgrade.
So there's an obvious ambition with the band, particularly like you said, from September. Can't speak. From September onwards, you're thinking of packing the jobs in then. So how are you gonna fund being in a band if you're not working?
It's something we've been working on. It's something we've been working on for a year now. It's always been the plan since we started, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of trying to work towards a big project kind of thing.
Yeah, we don't want to give too much away. We don't want to sort of like. We're also wanting to not speak too early in case something fails and then you fall on your ass and look like a tit. So it's kind of like we have a plan, and there is a whole business case and stuff that hopefully we'll be able to survive without jobs. It's scary, but we've got to go for it, man. Yeah. I think we're at the point now where it's like it's either now or never. If you don't go for it, you'll never sort of forgive yourself. So the how, and that is still kind of being processed, but we'll figure it out, man. That's the one thing we do as Mercians. It's like we're kind of winging it, but we have strategy to everything, and it's like everything is calculated. It might just not feel it at the time, but
sometimes it works.
Yeah, it's worked so far. Look what we've done in a year. It's everything we've tried to do so far has paid off. So we'll keep that lucky streak going.
It's definitely a brave thing to do, and it's something that you've got to do at some point. Being in a band, I've known loads of bands that have risked it and it's worked for them. I know some that where it hasn't. You've just got to do it. If it's going to be a career and it's something you really want to do, you've got to do it at some time. So I suppose the quicker you do it, the better chance you've got of being able to work it out, really, and seeing what does work and what don't work.
That's it, Carl. Like we kind of, it's just like you said, it's now or never. I'm like 25 now, so it's like I can't wait forever, sort of thing. You know, Joe's a little baby, Joe's still 20, but I've worked since I worked since I was 16, 17. It feels like I've always said to everybody, like, I don't think there ever is a right time to do it. It just has to feel right. And I think with the year we've just had, and the projects we've got coming up, it feels like the right time. Let's just give it a go.
Well, you're not old at 25, mate, so don't worry about that.
I keep telling myself that.
Don't wish your life away. Don't wish your life away. So the band got together. Then you started jamming. You thought, oh, there's a bit of a vibe going on here. How did the sound of the band develop? How did you? What kind of arguments have you had as band members to the direction?
There's been a fair few arguments.
There's plenty of arguments.
Tell me all about them.
Yeah, there's loads, mate. I think.
Well, Harry's the bassist. He's just a chili head.
Yeah.
Like, and I love the chilies as well, but I've never seen anyone love the chili peppers so much. So he's aspiring to be like a B-Tech Flea kind of thing. And like Harry plays simple, and he will just go off on a mad one. So.
Yeah, I don't think we'll ever get away from really, really complicated bass licks. So we've had to sort of just mould the sound around that. But to be honest, like, we've only been going for a year and a half now. We've only really launched for like 15 months, something like that, on social media and stuff. I would say we're still very sort of early doors. We're still finding our sound. We've recently sort of partnered up with Sugar House Studios in Liverpool, who did like all of Viola Beach's stuff, and they're doing Corella's stuff now and stuff. So we've got a really, really, really top-notch producer, and we come in with all of the ideas, and they're starting to channel our ideas into what I would say is turning into our sound.
It's definitely nurturing it.
Yeah, I don't mind that our latest track. That was the first rendition of what we've done with Sugar House, and the next track we've got coming out, which is called Polaroid, which is the first time anyone will have ever heard that. No one knows the title for that song, but it's called Polaroid. That's coming out in July. That's very much like I Don't Mind, and I think when you listen to those two tracks, you'll start to see, okay, I understand where the sound is going. But for the 5 or 6 songs we released before that, really good producer as well. His name's Josh Izzard. He did loads of work for us, and we wouldn't be here without Josh. But at that point, it was like we were just throwing almost different genres at him. And like, if you listen to our first 4 or 5 songs, they're like almost totally different from each other. And they're all great, and we love them, and the fans love them. But we decided it's time now. We've got the brand, we've got the look and stuff is now solidified. We need the tunes to follow. So you'll start to hear it. The rest of this year, I think the Mercians sound is going to start to come through for sure.
Nice. Well, tell us something about each. Maybe start with the people that aren't here. Tell us something surprising about each band member that you think we might not know. We wouldn't.
That's
a question.
You know, in the bit of like that show, Take Me Out, it's like the power is in your hands. Wow.
You've got to know some stuff about Owen. Yeah. You've got to be careful about it.
Take time. I've got all day, mate.
You put you on the spot.
I know. This is. What can I say though?
I think Harry. I've got one about Harry. So Harry works like a 0 hour at Tesco, and he is very, very much against working. The boy does not work very often. He's not got many outgoings, so he doesn't think he needs anything incoming money-wise, so he doesn't do much. But the one thing he has started to do is Spider-Man parties. He bought himself like a movie-like Spider-Man costume, and he goes out and he gets paid to be Spider-Man, and I think that's wild.
It's definitely something, man.
It's the most Harry thing ever, but our bassist dresses up as Spider-Man on the weekends and goes out and gets paid for it. That actually does happen.
Yeah, that's genuine as well.
That's why I love this.
Sounds crazy.
Really, when you think
so it's all downhill from here then.
Granted, if anybody ever asked us to play a Halloween show, we just need 4 more outfits. Yeah, that's what I'd give you about Harry.
I'm still trying to think about Owen, to be fair.
I got so much dirt on Owen.
He'd
have a panic.
What about Matt? What about Matt, Joe? Before, let's start on him first. Let's start with you two. Tell us about each other, then we'll come to him.
What would I say about you? What would I say about you?
You know, I'm going to say something nice about Matt. You look at Matt and you think, oh, he looks like a bit of an egotistical kind of.
That's me.
But he's a down to earth. He's amazing with his music. He knows what he wants, and if when he's got a vision in his head, he'll go for it, and kind of he won't stop at any. He won't, and no ideas will stop him. Basically, he'll go for it when he's got an idea in his head. He's really good like that.
Thank you, mate. Oh, getting me emotional now.
It can be a good thing. It don't. Everybody always like
I
always
forget that there's good things as well.
trying to think of good things. Go on
The
then.
bad stuff is too much to say.
Yeah, no, we've got to be careful of the bad stuff that we say online. You've got to be careful nowadays.
There is. And then what do you say about Joe then?
I mean, I can't slate him now, can I? He said something nice about him. So, look, honestly, like the last couple of years, I've started going out to music, and I'm like I like watch the trade. Like no matter what I'm doing, I'm very much I want to see what everybody else is doing. So I've got a little Twitter account that's not got a name and stuff that no one will find, and I just watch other bands and I want to see what magazines are doing. So I know everyone that's been on RGM, I know everyone that's been on this, blah blah blah. Oh, nice. So I'm a studier of like the game. I like to know what's going on in the industry, and I've been to so many shows now, and we've also played with some of the most like prolific up and coming artists in the country recently. And I've not seen a guitarist like him, and I think people are going to start to realise that coming over the next couple of years. He's wicked on the guitar, like it's insane. So that would be what I'd say about Joe, and people will start to understand that. You got to come and see it live as well, because it's not just the playing; it's like the performance. But yeah, for 20 years old, it's scary, man. He's a scary guy on the guitar. How
big's your pedal board?
So I've actually. Oh, it's in the van. It's mediocre. It's about that big, but I'm upgrading.
The one thing the Mercians haven't got
is money.
Between the five of us is money. We're all broke. So, like, I watch the K's and stuff, and Ryan from the K's. One of my favorite bands at the minute, the K's. Ryan from the K's has like two stacked amps with a pedal board that's like the size of a bus.
I watched that earlier on today. He put a rundown of his gear, didn't he?
It's insane.
He did it earlier today.
It's insane. And then
he's got these things on each side. He was just saying stuff, and I was like, I don't know what that means, but it sounds impressive.
Yeah. Even I'm like,
That's like, again. I'll see something like that, and I'll message Joe and be like, like, bro, come on, we need to up it. And he'll just go, I've got no money. I don't know how you expect me to do this. So we go with what we've got at the minute. So if any companies want to sponsor us, the Mercians, we're very much unsponsored at the minute. So
we'll take anything.
Anything.
And just before we move on, then, have you got a story about the other one there? Which one was it that we've not shared something surprising about?
Yeah, it was Owen. Yeah, I think, to be fair, you'll see it go on his Twitter, but Owen is a very, very proud metalhead. And when I was like forming the band, when I was trying to see who I was, Joe was like very clearly an indie guitarist, so it was like straight in. Harry, funky bass lines, I'm into that because I'm into like my 70s and 80s sound. But Owen was like really good guitarist, and he's got the prettiest face, like he's a really good looking lad. And it was like, there's that, but then he's massively into his Slipknot and his Metallica and all that stuff. And when he played, the guitar strap was like down by his hip, and he was like playing like power chords and stuff. So it took a little while, and I've slowly molded him into this little indie. And now he's just like he's an absolute killer, and he loves his indie music more.
Now he won't stop playing 1975.
Now it's all 1975 and Nothing But Thieves. So the rock stuff through Nothing But Thieves is still there, but I've molded him. But yeah, if you want to have a laugh, just go and have a look at all the pictures of Owen being an emo when he was 16. It's so funny.
I'll be checking that out. So, before the Tom Megan tour, then, how were you chugging along before that? Just talk us through what you were doing before you got that opportunity.
To be fair, it's been non-stop, innit? Like, we launched March. March 22? March 22. So March last year, we launched. We'd probably been building like behind the scenes for a couple of months, like building the brand and whatnot, what we're going to go for. As soon as we launched, we played like a headline show at the Firebug in Leicester, which was like 100 cap. And it was like, let's trick the industry by thinking we're really successful and selling out a show. But it was like, get your nan, get your granddad, get your aunt, your uncle, the dog, get everybody there. So we sold out this Firebug show, played that. And then I think the Skinner Brothers got in touch because we sold it out, and they asked us to play with them. And obviously there's loads of heat on the Skinner Brothers at the minute with social media and stuff. But they were really nice to us. They contacted us and said, do you want to support us? So we supported the Skinner Brothers. Really enjoyed that. And then it was growing so fast that we were really ambitious, and we said, let's play the O2 Academy in Leicester. Let's try and get a slot at the O2 Academy 2. So it's the smaller rooms, like 450 cap. Let's do that in August. And we'll literally build the first 4 or 5 months of being a band all around this big like nothing. What was it? Not a dream gig or whatever.
Not just a dream.
Not just a dream gig. Yeah. So we did that. and it got to like a week before, and we'd sold like 150 of the 450 tickets, and it was a bit like, oh no, because we had like a photographer come in, a video crew, and it was like, let's do it. No one's going to expect it. And then all of a sudden, like 2 weeks before, it sold out, just like that. Like the hype must have grown to a point where people were like, I want to see these, and it sold out. And we had the most surreal gig at the O2 Academy. Like we played really well. The crowd were all in Mercians t-shirts.
I know, yeah.
We only had what?
Dream Center, that was it. We had another.
We had 2 tracks out. We had 2 tracks out at the time, and everyone was singing the words back to us, and that was our moment of like, oh my god, this is.
Yeah, it was a core moment unlocked.
Yeah, but this was like what 4 or 5 months into actually being a band, and we sold out an O2 Academy. So obviously that ruffles a few feathers in like the promoters scene. So Nick from the O2 said that, you know, if anybody comes along that needs a support, I'll put your name forward. And obviously Tom Meehan came through. Came back from the dead, like we always talk to him about it, and came back from the dead, and it was like this massive tour that he was going on, and everyone was so excited. And Nick emailed us and asked, would you like to support Tom Meehan? And with Charlie being like the biggest Kasabian fan ever, I mean, we're all 20-year-old lads, like everybody knows Kasabian. If you've played FIFA, you know Kasabian. If you're from Leicester, you know Kasabian. So it was like, is this really happening? And that was the first taste of like A-list star that we'd ever experienced. And we got asked to go and play, and we did. And it was the main room, and it was the second night that he'd played Leicester, so it wasn't full, but I think there was about 1,000 people there. And we did what we do best, and we just went out, and it was just pure energy. And like, I think we played really well. And somehow Tom's manager just like fell in love with what they saw. And a couple of months later, or a couple of weeks later, maybe, I don't know, my manager called me and was like, are you sitting down? And it was like, why? And he goes, we've been asked to play the whole Tom Meehan tour. So it's been a roller coaster, like non-stop. There hasn't been a break.
There's genuinely not. There's genuinely not.
But yeah, just before we
get onto the Tom tour, you mentioned the Skinner brothers. Why are they giving? Why is a lot of heat about them at the minute, do you think?
Well, Zach from Skinner, he's a
character.
He loves anarchy, man. He loves to ruffle people up. And I think he tweeted something about Louis Tomlinson.
Yeah, I think he was putting hate on one of the supporting artists.
Yeah, because Louis Tomlinson, like, unbelievable. It's amazing that someone his size does it, actually. But he'll take like smaller bands that you know people haven't heard of and put them on his tour. And like, we're talking like a One Direction member, like one of the, well, if not the biggest boy band ever. And he'll take people and put them on the tour. So like, there was this whole hype around it. And Zach, being Zach, was like, I don't like it. So he tweeted about it. And it just like,
he got
it got so much hate. I mean,
I did know the answer to the question because I've had him on the podcast before, and I felt like I got on with him well.
I thought you would,
and I felt like I got to understand where he comes from a little bit more. But he recently put a copyright claim on RGM's YouTube channel that I'm not quite happy about.
I did see that. I saw you tweeted that.
Yeah, I've had a go at him. I've emailed him to ask him to just take it down and just like chill out, because it's not to do with his copyright. It's just
it's your video, I suppose. Is it not your video?
Yeah.
Look.
Yeah. So it's like, he's blocking everybody, and he's trying to take stuff down that I don't know why he's even taking that interview down, because we just had a good chat. It was just a nice chat.
Like we said, he's a character. I mean, the times we spoke to him, like you said, we kind of got on with him. But look, we're not here to ruffle people's feathers, man. Like, as much as we're not anyone to sort of bend over for anybody, like we'll say what we need to say when we need to say it. But I mean, we love Louis Tomlinson, man. What he does for bands and stuff. Yeah. So if anybody goes stuff like that, we'll shed our 10 pence on it. And we know a few bands that got really, really popular out of it, like Small Talk. They blew up on Twitter for sticking up for Louis. And we actually pulled in quite a lot of the Louis Tomlinson fans. And to be honest, they've been like our core fan base for the last few months. They are unbelievable people.
I had Andrew Cushing on a few weeks back, who was touring with in America, and they do appear from nowhere, these Louis Tomlinson fans, and God bless you, you know, there's thousands of people listen to that episode of the podcast, so it must have been
that honestly support.
And if you're still around, Louis Tomlinson fans, get involved with Mercians and all.
Yeah, they know who we are. We love them just as much as they love us. But yeah, man, the 1D fans, they are savage, and I would like. I dare you to say something bad about any of them.
It is funny all
will
that. I am quite entertained by all of that. Just like
yeah,
been online quite a lot and just seeing it all. It's quite funny, isn't it? You know.
We're that band that just like crack open a bag of popcorn and watch it all unfold. It's just fun, isn't it? It's like at the end of the day, it's music. You know, people have their opinions and stuff. And you know, everything in music is preference. So you know, if you feel the way you feel, say it. But yeah, quite the copyright thing. That's weird. Don't worry, we won't be doing anything like that.
You can do whatever you want, boys. You can do whatever. You want. so you got this massive opportunity to support Tom, and I was at the O2 Ritz gig because I did a 360 video with Tom, but I just got there after you guys had been on, unfortunately. So I just missed your set just by like that. But I can remember having a fag outside and seeing you like outside just having a smoke and that. And I just thought it was just another time I thought I've got to have a chat with these. I like the I just liked how you I liked how you dressed. There's like it's a bit eclectic, but it's kind of like it's unique.
Definitely unique.
Like big shirts and stuff and trousers, and I'm not expressing very well. How do you pick like your image and that kind of stuff?
I look about to be honest. I let these people be.
Yeah. Joe, we dress Joe. It's like,
okay.
It's like I'm wearing this today, and everyone's like, "No, you're not. You're wearing this, and this." But to be fair, before tour, we were like super casual, so it was always like jeans and a t-shirt. But it's a Tom Meehan tour, man. Like you said, the Ritz, Shepherd's Bush, Academy, O2 Academy in Edinburgh, like some of the most iconic venues in the UK, and it felt wrong. And look, whatever you believe in, you should go for, right? So if you wear jeans and stuff, like my favorite band at the minute are Wonder Horse, and he just wears baggy t-shirts, baggy jeans, trainers, does not care, absolutely shuts his gigs down. So for me, image is image, right? But it felt right? Tom Meehan is the king of wearing fancy jackets and you know, eclectic clothes. And I think, especially the way the music's going at the minute, we're bringing in more synths and we're getting a bit more experimental. Why not push it with the outfits? And it's nowadays, unfortunately, it's just as much what you look like than what it is what you sound like. You know what I mean? Like you have to be able to catch people. 9 times out of 10 nowadays, you actually have to catch people's eyes before you catch their ears. Yeah. So we were like, let's go for it. And I think after the first day, we like, you just feel free in those clothes, man. And you want to kind of, you want to be someone on stage that people look at and think, wow, I really like that top, or I really like this. You know, they can relate to you in not just the music's way. So, and then we're never going back. I'm
definitely going to get to your next Manchester one anyway. I presume there'll be one later this year. There's got to be.
There absolutely will. We'll get you on the guest list, mate. We'll get you there.
We'll get on and come down and see you. So what kind of advice did you get from Tom Meehan's band and everything? Because there's a lot of them in that band. I noticed when I was watching them play. There's a lot of them, and they're all amazing musicians. And to have his history with Kasabian and you know just you know, having all that, you know, having the holy grail of having a career in the music industry, has he given you any advice to move on with that?
You know what? I've always said, like being a front man, like I don't play guitar or anything on stage. Being like a front man of a band, I literally felt like I was on an apprenticeship for a month. Like I'd watch his set every night through like backstage or whatever, sometimes from the crowd. I'd watch him and I'd just learn from him. And don't get me wrong, he and his team were amazing. And you know, they really believe in what we're doing, and they've said that we think you're gonna do really good things with like your mannerisms and stuff. Because it's not just about how you play on stage, right? It's about how you're approachable and stuff. And we tried to keep the best relationship with them, and they were all absolutely amazing. But although he said so many nice things, he didn't have to say anything. I could just watch him every night. And by the end of the tour, I was a different person on stage. Like I've become a completely different person on stage.
I think seeing them, not even Tom,
he doesn't mess about, does he? He's proper jumping about and nearly falling off, and just like risking it.
Jumping on
stage. Yeah, he's like full of like just energy, mate. He's unbelievable. He's one of the best. He's the best frontman I've ever witnessed firsthand. You know, like you think of like great frontmans, and you think of like Freddie Mercury's and stuff, and when you think of like modern day, the last 20 years, you obviously got like your Liam Gallagher. I think Tom Meehan's right up there because Kasabian were absolutely wham. And he's just incredible. And you know what? He didn't need to be as nice as he was, and his team didn't need to be as nice as they were. We were just a support act, and we've heard nightmare stories of support acts. They were the most like just like the most welcoming people, all the way from Tom all the way to the light guy, to the guy that does to the guy that brings in the delay with the clip on the sound. Like all of they're meticulously like they're a unit, but at the same time they've always got time to say hello to you and always comment on something you're wearing. Or what an experience, man. I'll always be grateful. And he's just the most down-to-earth guy, right? He's done everything. He's headline Glastonbury, headline Reading, Leeds, all of this. Jules Holland, he's played it how many times? And he was just so down-to-earth. And he just liked to talk to you about the chippy that was down the road and things like that. It still baffles me. All of it still baffles me.
What's coming up next for you lads then? What can you say or can't you say? There's a single about this time, isn't there? So we don't know exactly what date this podcast's going out. We know there's a single coming out, so there might be a single. I don't know how do you speak as if you're like going out in the future. It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah. So I mean, like we said earlier, I don't know when it is. It's about early July time.
So you could have heard it already, or you might not have heard it.
If it's out, there'll be a link in the description. If it's coming out, there'll be a pre-save link in this description. So there you go.
And there'll be links everywhere, for sure.
Yeah. So it's called Polaroid, and it's a song. It's a song that we've had written for quite a while though. But it was one of those songs that was just sitting there, and it was kind of like we were kind of struggling to write it, but we actually got towards it and started writing it and started putting bits together. I went in the studio and it completely changed it. It shaped it in like just such a different and atmospheric but massive way. And I think
it's the best song.
It's one of the it's 100% at least one of the best songs that we've got coming out so far. But it's
a bit anthemy, and I think probably being on tour with Tom gave us a little bit of inspiration to write something that people can jump to. It's called Polaroid, and hopefully it's either out now or it isn't, but links will be in the description. Please
definitely
get it downloaded. The last single we had went to #1 on iTunes, so hopefully we can match that with this one.
Well, we'll be sharing it on RGM. We'll look out for the new tour dates coming out. Have a great festival season, boys, and
thank you.
I'm just really enjoying the journey of a band, and I can't wait to put a pint in front of you in real life.
Absolutely.
And we'll crack on, lads. Nice one.
No.